Welcome to another episode of Scared Shitless. My name is Seracina Just. I am your host. Today, I'm super excited for this conversation that I'm going to have with Kim Lackie. We met a couple of years ago, I feel, but I feel like we mostly connected maybe in the past year or so, really. And I at least have like more exchanges, and I used to come to your house for networking events.
Yes.
You are the owner of Kim Lackie Investments.
Correct.
And most recently, business owner of Signature Events.
Signature Events by Kim Lackie.
Kim Lackie.
I wanted to have my name, so just the association, because if you just come up with a title, then nobody really knows what
100%
who that is. So yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to start by asking you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and a little bit more about what you do.
Sure. I am in Ottawa. It's not where I was born. I was born in Vancouver. When I joined the RCMP, when I was in my 30s, my husband and I moved up to the Northwest Territories. I worked up there operationally for 7 years. Then I got pregnant with triplets.
Triplets, okay.
And we moved to Ottawa. My husband had family here, but we had been visiting. So it was either go back to Vancouver or Ottawa. And Ottawa provided reasonable housing at the time for us to be able to afford a house to raise our 3 kids.
Yeah.
So we've been in Ottawa for 19 years, going on 20.
Okay.
And I just recently retired.
Okay.
26 years plus with the RCMP. I retired in February of this year.
Okay.
And my kids are 19.
And your kids
so
are
I
19.
made it.
Quote unquote, that's what we say, right?
Yeah.
And now you decided to start business.
Yeah. So I'm learning as I get older of what I'm like.
Okay.
There's a lot more on social media about finding out who you are. There's some personality tests. There's all these different quizzes you can take. And I'm realizing now that I'm not an introvert. I do have some maybe learning disabilities.
Okay.
I may have some ADD because my 2 of my kids have ADD and autism. So they say it's hereditary, and it makes sense that it's me.
Okay.
And I'm not one to sit still. Like, I find it very hard to sit and relax. And so when you asked me today what I did, I said I literally relaxed today. And that was a couple emails and just sat around, and it was very hard for me to do that. But I think that allowed me to be able to keep up with 3 kids at once, but also be able to do a lot of the work that I did up north because it was some of the areas that I was in, there was only me.
Okay.
Or there was only maybe 4 of us.
Okay.
And so you had to wear a lot of hats. And I enjoyed that. When my husband and I decided that we were going to go full board and try and have kids, I was 36 at the time.
Okay.
So, yeah, life has gone fast, but at the same time, my career when I had it was great. I had kids, career was put on hold, even though I did work.
Okay.
It wasn't the job that I had signed up for.
Okay.
So 5 years ago, when everything shut down with COVID, I was looking for something that would inspire me because my job wasn't doing it anymore.
Okay.
And it's through that evolution over the last 5 years that I realized that I do like genuine connections. I really enjoy meeting new people. That was part of my job when I lived up north, was to get to know people.
Right.
And it just evolved into me hosting women's events at my house, to thinking, okay, maybe I can make some money off of this, to now just having small intimate gatherings of women that I'm calling a seat at the table. And I just started those over the last couple of months.
Okay.
And that's kind of the evolution of how I got to here in a short form.
Okay. So when you decided to leave the RCMP, was there any fear when you decided to retire? Or was it like, okay, this is the normal chain of events, I'm ready to retire in terms of this is, my age to retire? Or was it like, you know what, let me just retire from this and do something else? Like, what was that like?
It was a multitude of feelings. One is, once I got 25 years in, I knew I was good.
Okay.
I had my pension, and that was a security that I needed. I also, during that time, my kids had graduated high school.
Okay.
So there was a bigger transition that was happening in our lives, and two of my girls have moved away for college. So I didn't feel like I needed to work.
Right.
Plus, my job had changed over those years. And unfortunately, a year ago, my mom had a very serious illness, and I stopped working. So I had from like February of 2024 off to help my mom, to help my kids because they went through graduation. Two of my kids had a really tough time during that time, and it allowed me to provide my presence for them when they needed it the most. And so for me, when work was asking, when are you coming back to work, I really had a tough time visualizing myself sitting at that desk again to do the job that I really didn't find inspiring anymore.
Okay.
Working in Ottawa is totally different when you're working for the government.
Yeah.
And I had already started in 2021, 22, starting to expand my communities in that I was into real estate investing. So I would go and find local real estate groups that I could be a part of. And so I was already expanding my circle because I wasn't finding what I wanted at work.
Right.
And so when it came time to say to Brent, my husband, what do you think if could we afford to do it? And part of that conversation was, okay, what does that look like? But also financially, what does that look like? So we're in the process now of selling the big family home because it is much bigger than what we needed. I'm not wanting to be the stay-at-home mom that cleans the house and cooks meals. And that was never something that, I would do it, but it was not something that I wanted to sit home and just, that was going to be it.
Right.
So
that wasn't like the identity that you wanted to be for yourself.
No. And that's going all the way back to high school. I didn't want to be, taking the traditional route of being the secretary, even though my mom forced me to take typing classes, which, did help me in my careers. But, I didn't want the white picket fence. I didn't want the traditional kind of pathway that women were provided back then. I was doing a lot of things, like I would go to the gym and weightlift, where all the other girls were doing aerobics.
Okay.
I was doing, I had a very physical job before I got in the RCMP. I was doing a lot of heavy lifting in aircraft mechanics.
Okay.
So, it was a very physical job. And then I go and decide that I want to be in the police force and join the RCMP. So very non-traditional kind of avenues. And that's what I gravitate towards. So, it was hard raising 3 kids.
I bet. Yeah. Not only 3 kids of the same age.
Yes.
Right? We have to emphasize that because, they're in diapers at the same time. They're messy at the same time. They're learning to walk and crawl and all of that all at the same time.
Yeah.
And did you have any help? How did you navigate all of that when you were younger?
I mean, looking back, I can see, that it all worked out. But at the time, it was, I had my mother and my mother-in-law staying with us. Because having 3, I had a C-section booked. And so up until that time, I could give birth at any time. So my mom came out to stay with us because I physically couldn't stand or sit or lay down for any length of time because of the pressure. And so she came with, I think it was early March. The kids were born in later April. By that time, my mother-in-law had come. So we had 3 adults and 3 babies in the house for a month, and that was about it.
Wow.
They left, Brent went back to work, and it was me. So, that was very scary. I was very angry at that point because I felt like I was left alone to raise 3, which I had no clue. Thankfully, we lived in a cul-de-sac in the neighborhood. There was one lady who was going through cancer treatments, so she would come over and just hold the babies and help feed. Another lady had knee surgery and she had to go out and walk every day, so she would take the stroller and go. There was another young girl, she had just graduated, she had broken her toe, and the community usually had a barbecue once a year in the summer, and so she was there. And we got to chatting, and so she would come over and just hang out. And then as she was getting better, I hired her to come 5 hours a day for 5 days a week just to give me a break.
Yeah.
And that rolled into her being our nanny for almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
And at that time, the kids were, toddlers.
Right.
And I didn't know that you had to put your name on a wait list for childcare before they were even born.
Yes.
Because we had just arrived in the province. I had no idea.
That's great. So
that took some time to come in, and it just so happened the day that she, basically left us to go to college or university, we got an email saying that Spot had opened up. Well, I couldn't plan that.
Yeah.
And then we actually ended up hiring a part-time nanny to come so I could go back to work.
Okay.
And that was like financially, you go in the hole, to come back out, to go in the hole, come back out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really hard during that time.
It does take a village, like with kids, and you manage to kind of get your village different ways. Typically it's like parent or grandparents or friends and whatnot, but I guess you did make friends and eventually hired a nanny.
My mom would come out when she could. My dad used to work for Canadian Airlines, CPR, way back when. So when he passed away, she continued with his flight benefits. So she would come out, provide what help she could. Sometimes it was a last minute phone call, like I had to travel for work. Nanny wasn't available, so she'd come out. So we were very grateful. It's amazing how, looking back, you can see how things kind of, if my dad hadn't worked there, if she didn't have those, it would have made things a lot harder.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of cool to look back and say how, the puzzle pieces went together.
How, as they got older, obviously their needs changed.
Yeah.
And, what was in high school, did they participate in like extracurricular activities, and how was that like?
So my one daughter, very like me, she's the middle child, Tara, is into all the activities. She wanted to take dancing, she wanted to be in hip hop, she wanted to be an actor, which she's actually training to be right now.
Very cool.
Very active child. Jessie is just as active, but a little bit more on the reserve because she's got some autism. Very social anxiety, and that showed up very early in school. And then Brandon had a bit of a lisp, so we had speech therapists for a while to be able to fully understand. We didn't know all of what they had going on as far as disabilities until they were much older. Like, even though we knew that there were some differences,
right?
You still have to go through all the processes, ruling things out, trying different medications. It was really a lot of appointments. In the meantime, like, I'm trying to manage my own mental health and wellness. And so it was very difficult in trying to work and have the kids. And it really came to a head in COVID when I just said, I can't live like this anymore. Like, there's got to be... Like, I was reaching out to other resources, but we don't have what we have now, which is a lot of things online now that we had some things, but there's so much online now.
I think because of COVID,
and people are more open to talking about things and the difficulties of, raising kids that are neurodiverse, but also supporting the parents and especially the mothers, because we do take on a lot of that, that ownership of how our kids are. So I think that now, with having kids that are neurodivergent, there's a lot more resources and things that are coming into place that we can actually provide support, and not just the kids that are going through it, but through the parents as well.
100%.
And having a bit more empathy for when kids do act up, that it's not just, oh, that's what boys do or that's what girls do.
Yeah, definitely. Like they're going through puberty and their own development. Yeah. Plus, you were saying that they had just other challenges, right? It's like attention deficit, and that comes into play when you got to go to school, you got to do your homework, you got to do all these things in society, but yet internally you're not okay. Yeah. And you as the mom, you got to help them be okay, but you're not okay yourself.
Exactly. So it was hard. I kind of knew that it was going to be difficult when I phoned the clinic back, because we went through fertility and told them that the 3 embryos were the 3 that took, and they were apologizing.
Did you insert 3 embryos? Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to tell you this, you might not know this about myself, but all 2 of my kids were born through IVF. Okay. So I do understand the whole fertility life or journey or whatever that is. Did they expect all 3 to take?
I don't think so, because there was actually 4. Okay. And the 4th one they said wasn't viable. They wanted to keep it for a bit, and they'd let me know. I never did hear back. But I always look back and think, would they have put that 4th one in, and what would that have been like? Right. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. Yes. There was this was all fairly new in that there was no regulations about how many eggs that they could take and put back in. And that's where you see like mothers that have 8 kids. Like there was no discussion. Okay. About do you want to keep 2 and freeze them, or do you want all 3? Like there was no discussion.
Wow. So the decision was, did they even ask, or they just put
the 3 in? Okay. So we have 3, we're going to do 3, and
that's crazy. Yeah. Because nowadays they actually only tell you, unless you're over 40, I think, they only tell you like you should only put 1. They actually tell you it is still your decision. Yeah. But they do advise on what to do. But back then,
so there was no discussion, and so Brent and I are up in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, getting this news that all 3 took, and I was 38 when I had them. Okay. We had been married for 12 years and nothing. Like I had stopped taking the pill shortly after we decided to get married, and didn't really know. And it was like I'd either go to the RCMP or find out I'm pregnant, and I went to the RCMP. So, but I wasn't one to go and say, I need my temperature and like now's the time. That was like if it was going to happen, it was going to happen. Right. But
So actually, I'm actually going to ask more questions about that if you don't mind. Yeah. So you were saying that if it was going to happen, it's going to happen, and you kind of weren't really. I know now there's all sorts of things that you can time your ovulation, et cetera, et cetera. So when did you decide that, okay, you know what, let's go through fertility treatments?
Yeah, I was 36, so I'd been in the force for almost 7 years. Brent and I had been married for 12. Okay. And so the discussion was, do I pursue this avenue? Because I was looking at going into a specialized unit that would have taken me away on travel quite a bit. And so it's like, do I pursue this avenue, or are we looking at the possibility of, are we still wanting to have kids?
Yes, right.
And so again, it's like throw caution to the wind. It's like, okay, well, let's go talk to a fertility clinic. Right. And so when we came to Vancouver to visit family, we had booked an appointment and went and talked to them. And during the course of that conversation, we said, okay, I think we need to try.
Okay.
So I walked out with 2 paper bags, because there's no way that I could go to the clinic for the injections and all the protocol that's required. So, those came up north with us and had to do all that myself. Yeah. And, not much long after, I had to go back, harvest the eggs. Brent came down, they did the procedure.
Did you feel like the fertility treatment, or even just your journey of maybe trying naturally all these years, Did you find that it had an impact on your marriage, or was it like, okay, well, if it's not happening, that's fine? Like, how did that impact?
That's a good question, because I don't think I ever asked Brent.
Okay.
You know how he would have felt about not, like, now he knows the difference,
right.
if we hadn't had kids.
Right.
But yeah, I couldn't say for sure what was in his mind at the time. For me, it was like, if this doesn't work, then I know I'm not meant to be a mother.
Right. So all these years you guys were okay not having kids until you decided, okay, well, let's
yeah, I think
see?
so, because
okay.
we were so concentrated on our careers that
right.
Brent, like when I got in, Brent was working at another job that he ended up quitting and then moving up with me. So he didn't have, you know, a career per se
right.
up north. So he did work at odd jobs. We opened up the Fort Smith, which is the community we're in, boxing club for youth.
Okay.
So he focused on helping the youth. He actually was able to take a couple of them out of the communities to box down south. They call it down south, which is northern BC or Alberta. So he got a lot of joy out of that. We moved to Fort Liard, which is another smaller community just above Fort Nelson, BC. I loved that community. That was my joy place. I really enjoyed working there. And Brent decided to try for the RCMP again.
Okay.
He had tried when I did, but had the laser eye surgery done.
Okay.
So he had to wait. And so he decided to try again and eventually got in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, fast forward a little bit. Okay, the twins are born. Life is chaotic. Triplets, sorry. The triplets are born. Life is chaotic. You're figuring out, building that community to help you. Yeah. COVID hits, you know, takes a toll on everybody's mental health, I feel. But you said that it was particularly tough for you.
Yeah.
When did you start investing in real estate through all of this? How did that come into play?
Yeah, so 5 years ago, so I think it was like end of March, April of 2020, I was in my basement. It's not as nice as this one. Okay. It was an unfinished basement. It was the quietest place in the house, and I literally had a meltdown, basically saying that to myself that I couldn't live my life the way I'd been living it, by being, you know, everything to everybody.
Right.
Not prioritizing my health, not prioritizing my sleep. I've been listening to all the doctors. I'd been dealing with depression and anxiety. I had pain all the time. Mm-hmm. I had hip surgery in 2012, and my physical health hadn't been the same after that.
Okay. I
had neck pain, migraines. Like, it was a lot of pain. I couldn't physically work at my desk for any longer, so I had a sit-stand desk. And I just wanted it all to stop. Mm. And so I actually videotaped myself making this promise to myself that I wasn't going to put a priority on anything else but me. Okay. And it was a hard decision to make because it sounds very selfish. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until that time that I said, no, I have to go, and these are things I have to do and put in place and put boundaries around them. And it was really from listening to what was being said on the radio at the time, where they were trying to get people to recognize that this was not going to go away in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. That you have to find some structure in your daily life. So right. Like making your bed in the morning. Just doing that, you know, because some people really do struggle with just trying to get out of bed in the morning. Right. So that was one thing I implemented, is just get up and make my bed. Mm-hmm. And it brought me back to depot, which is the RCMP training, is we had to make our beds like spotless, crisp, ironing the sheets, the army. All that. Yeah. So it was like going back to that training a bit to say, okay, I have to get up at a decent time. I have to make my bed. I have to get dressed, not wandering around in my pajamas. And then I have to go and actually physically have something to eat. And that was a big one for me because I had a nervous stomach. I couldn't eat in the morning. Even through depot, all I could have was coffee and oatmeal. Wow. So it was little steps over time. Mm-hmm. And then I started to listen. Podcasts were really becoming popular. Mm-hmm. and implementing little things. And one of the things that popped up on my Facebook, because I wasn't on Instagram or LinkedIn or any of those, it was Facebook, because I'm of that generation.
So am I. Facebook is like the thing at the time, at least.
It was education for real estate investing.
Okay.
And it was super cheap because everything was virtual, and they were just going to try it virtually. And so it was like 2 days, I think it was $200 to go on and learn real estate investing. And I had some interest in real estate. I, thought about being a realtor at one point. I enjoyed, and this is going to sound creepy, I enjoyed looking in people's windows. When I would walk
the designs.
Yeah, when I would walk the kids or the dog, because I like to see what the architecture was. What did they do with their living space?
Not the way they're living.
Not the creepy stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
Or just like when we traveled, looking at different architecture, it really, I found it appealing. And so I'm like, oh, okay, this sounds like something I could do. And it blew my mind on the different various ways that you can invest in real estate, other than just buying a property.
Right.
And so when I left the RCMP, I had a small pension that was locked in from my previous job. And so it was just kind of sitting there. And so I thought, what if I invested that myself? So I started doing what they taught me, which was self-investing. And so that's what I did initially. And once I did that, I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. And I just let it sit. And then RCMP at that time was getting a union. And so we never had one before. And so they were negotiating an agreement with us that was going back several years, because we hadn't had a raise since 2017, I think.
Okay.
So with all of that, we were getting a lump sum of money. And so I said to Brandon, I said, we just can't take that and spend it. Like, we got to do something with it. And so I convinced him that we needed to buy a rental property.
Okay.
And so we started looking around, and he was very apprehensive.
Okay.
So we ended up buying a single family home rental property in Cornwall, and with the idea that it could potentially be a retirement home or something like that. And we still have that property now, but I was the one that renovated it all. So
by yourself?
By myself, my own hands.
Okay.
So I realized then that I liked building things. I like using tools. I used to help my dad. My brother's a carpenter by trade. I built stuff around the house. Like when the kids were young, you're sitting around feeding 3 babies. You look at your house and go, oh, I could do that. I was watching HGTV with McGilvery and all his stuff.
It makes you feel like you can do it all.
So even back then, I had ripped the kitchen apart, and my husband came home one day and went, what the
Surprise!
But it was little things like that was kind of a precursor to, I could do this. And so it ended up being a year-long project. It wasn't the plan, but that's kind of how it worked out. But we've had renters in it, and right now it's rented out to a refugee family from South Africa, and they're loving it, and they're great. And
nice.
Yeah, it's a really good feeling to be able to provide them a safe home that they can all be in and really appreciate it.
Okay.
So, and because we're downsizing, we were able to give them a lot of the furniture that they could use for the house too.
And also this kind of saves you the trouble of having to, I know selling it, of course, would put a little bit of money in your pocket, but the hassle to sell things off, let's say, Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Because, you got to coordinate, and people say they're coming and they don't come, and etc. Yeah. So knowing you can do a good thing by, donating it to another family is awesome.
Yeah. So, and it's those things that you really want to be able to give back to the community, that you find some fulfillment out of it. I did try and do the multifamily. I just didn't come.
Right. Okay.
And so
the right deal, you mean? Like the right deal then?
The right deal, the right time. There was some apprehension with work because we do have a strict policy about secondary employment. And so because I was I was working part-time hours, but still wanting to do my thing. So because I was investing my own money, it was fine. But once I wanted to start getting bigger with my projects, there was some friction there.
Okay.
And so it just wasn't the best time to do that. And so I pivoted and said, okay, I did have a business coach at the time and said, okay, what's something else I can do that can bring in some revenue that I would enjoy? And that's kind of where the event planning came in.
Okay.
I had already started my ladies group that would come once a month. And I was really like just planning that and putting it on was what I enjoyed, and bringing people together. And so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the switch from law enforcement to, I'm going to say, signature events, how was that received by, your husband, anybody in your circle? Like, I don't know if you still, your family members that you talk to, how was that received, and how do you overcome any, I don't know if you can call them naysayers, or how?
Yeah. So for my husband, it's like, well, if it's going to make you money,
right.
go right ahead.
All right. Number one.
I think he sees the change in me.
Okay.
That I'm not as negative. I'm not as depressed or anxious about things. Definitely my old personalities come back, if I want to say as much, is that I'm anxious to get going for the day, as opposed to being very reluctant. As far as family, my mom's like, aren't you retired? Like, you're supposed to be relaxing.
Right.
You've raised these kids. You've had the job. Like, can you not just sit?
Right.
that like, traditional, you're retired, so you just sit and enjoy life. So that is, something that I've had to tailor back. I don't tell her absolutely everything.
Yeah.
But, I also know that she's doing it from, heart center, where it's like, she wants me not to go back to where I was. So to be very careful of where I'm putting my energy, not to help absolutely everybody. So, in that way, that's kind of how I context it. For my kids, because two of them are away, I only have the one. It's like super easy.
You don't have to tell anybody, really.
Yeah. But I was doing some of this while they were still at home. And I actually, it was really hard to decide whether I should be putting more effort on something that I wanted to do, as opposed to being there to help them through whatever they were going through. And I actually had a conversation with an investor that I had met at a conference, and she's a mindfulness coach, and she had a freebie one day, and I thought, I'm going to go on. And we ended up having this conversation about, like, I was really apprehensive about spending more money on something that I really wanted, when that money we really didn't have, and the time I was going to be dealing with that, should I not be spending time with my kids being at their last year of school and knowing that two of them might be going to college? And she says, well, what do you want the kids to see in you? I'm like,
That's a good question.
I'm like, I hadn't thought about that. And then it made more sense. And it makes a lot of sense now that had I not put what I wanted first, they would maybe not have known how to do that for themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Because having had a real struggle raising them, now that I was feeling better, it's like, maybe I can start teaching them now at this age that they're going into their own careers, and, maybe having their families, or, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, that it's important to have what you want
100%
at the forefront, because everything else is going to be affected by how you're feeling about what you're doing.
Yeah. And one thing I also realize now that I have kids is one of the best things that you can do for them is the example that you set.
Exactly.
Going for your dreams, for something that fulfills you. They're going to see that, Mom is working really hard for something that really makes her feel happy.
Yeah.
Therefore, I can do the same, even if it's difficult. She's managing everything else, right?
Yeah.
And I know 2 of them are away, but I still hope that they can see that you are doing something that you enjoy, and not, I may get some hate for saying that, but not dedicate your life all to your kids, all to other people.
Yeah.
Because our kids are not ours. You know,
no, we're the guardians. We're supposed to be like the bumpers on your side, to be like...
Exactly. Yeah. You help them, you raise them, and you release them to the world.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm a true believer that, and which is one of the reasons why I have this podcast, one of the reasons in real estate, just like you, where it's kind of me following something that I want to follow so that my kids can do the same later on and say, hey, you know, mom did that. And if I think back of my mom and thinking of her working hard towards, maybe she was working hard to put food on the table, and maybe it wasn't like her dream job, but my recollection of my mom when I was in high school is just a hard worker, you know? And I feel like we do need to show that to our kids so that they can see, hey, you know, like you can do both. You can, you know, chase this and chase that at the same time, and take care of your family, and, you know, be a mother. And it's not just
and
like
knowing that there's got to be a reciprocal, like, I can do things for you, but mom still needs to have her time.
Absolutely.
Too. And being able to show that it's not all one way, and it's not just full dedication to one thing, because we are multifaceted people.
100%.
You know, so if mom's not getting filled up somewhere, then, you know, that's going to spill out to
other things.
Yeah.
Before we end, I want you to talk to us a little bit more about signature events and a seat at the table.
Sure.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. What is it exactly? What you're trying to do, and if other people are interested in that business, like, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So when I kind of decided that I was going to do event planning, I was doing the traditional, what everybody would think, oh, you're going to plan events. But I was thinking I was be planning other people's events. But the more that I had the opportunity to do that, or was thinking of how do I get other people to get me to hire me, I realized that the part that I enjoyed was coming up with the ideas to then put on the events. And so it's kind of pivoted a bit in that I'm the curator of the events to bring people to come to my events. So it's not event planning. It's kind of pivoted a little bit over the last little bit, but I really get a lot of joy out of putting on what I've called a seat at the table. It's for women that are seasoned in life, because we find, at least in my age, that because we are always around our kids or our families, that we don't have the time to really have sit-down, genuine conversations with each other. We can go to networking and we can have a generalized conversation, but it's really carving out time for women to come and have a seat at the table to discuss, not to like...
It's just elevate one another.
It's elevate one another. I was having people come that I was featuring. I called them featured voices, to be able to give them a highlight. But I found out later that it was me being small.
Okay.
That I was wanting to put these events on, but I didn't want to be the one having to speak to everybody.
Okay.
Which was weird.
Just kind of stay in the background.
Stay in the background. And now I've realized that no, I was trying to push that, and so now it's like, okay, so what does that look like? So I had a kind of a short meeting last week with I had the opportunity to go to another coach for a day and really sit down and put down on paper what I was going to do each week to be able to expand this idea that I have. And so it's kind of evolving as I go. But my next event is next week, and I'm really excited. I'm not featuring anybody. I'm featuring the ladies that are coming.
Okay. So next week, July 18th.
July 18th
Okay.
at 6 o'clock. Actually, I got to preface that because it's weather permitting.
Okay.
And in checking the weather today, it's supposed to rain that day. So
Okay.
I might be changing, have a nicer day. But yeah, so Signature Events. This is a curated event that is under that, but it's called A Seat at the Table, Women Who Lead. And
Nice.
it's really to provide space for acknowledging, where you are in life, provide some genuine, real conversations about life, and to really encourage each other along our journeys. And
Nice.
that's kind of what the whole preface is.
I love it. How many people are you? What is the maximum number of people that you
So
want
the first
at the
event
table?
I had 5 people, and the ladies, the feedback I got, they really liked that size. It allowed for full conversation of everybody that was there. There would be the one-off kind of conversations, but it was really good to have 5 people just being able to be involved in the same conversation.
Nice.
The next one I had, there was 3 of us,
Nice.
and 4 of us. I gotta include myself. So there was 4 of us. So I'm thinking like 6 would be the max, I think, to be able to have those conversations without having one-offs and having to bring everybody back to the conversation. But I'm thinking that maybe I'll have them more often. If there's more people that want to come and it's expanded up, outside those 6 people, then, maybe it's having a multitude of those tables.
I think you have a really good idea. Because one of the things that is missing, I find myself when I go to networking events, there's like 30 to 50 people, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things I actually told myself is that I want to make sure that I actually have a genuine conversation with at least one person. Like it doesn't the length of time doesn't really matter, but I know a lot of people, they want to make sure that they introduce themselves to a lot of different people. But I always make sure if I'm gravitating towards one person, then I'll probably have a very long conversation with you. What do you do? Just get to know that person in depth. And I think a lot of people prefer that.
Yeah.
So I think a seat at the table where there's only, let's say, maximum 6 people, or even if it gets a little bit bigger, but just a small group does allow for like genuine connections.
Yeah.
Because later on, in real estate investing, in business partnerships, you're really trying to get to know the person, not just, hey, what do you do, but like, who's your family? Where do you come from? What, those deep questions that you only ask for a person, maybe, 30 minutes into a conversation, not just, hey.
Yeah, or let's get for coffee, and then it's that email back and forth trying to find a date. Even just trying to get people to come together for a dinner. One lady asked me, so what is that, how coming to a seat at the table different from just, calling people up for dinner? It's because that's very hard to do.
Yeah.
And I don't always want the same people.
Yes, I agree.
I'm putting it out to the universe to say, this is what I'm putting together. If you feel that you want to come, then we're meant to be at that table together.
Yeah.
And experience that time together. So, one person said to me, well, what if you only get one person? I said, then it's me and that one person. We're meant to be in that room at that table for that very reason. So to me, it's just providing that opportunity for us to cross paths, and who knows what's going to flourish out of that.
Absolutely. If somebody wants to join on July 18th, or know whether it's actually going to be on July 18th
or
or
even
not.
join, like I'm going to start be doing a newsletter regularly, so I'll be putting in more content on that. But it's signatureeventsottawa.ca.
Okay.
It was too long to put Signature Events by Kim Lackie.
That's perfect.
And then don't put the www. It's just Signature Events.
signatureeventsottawa.ca.
Yeah.
And if somebody just wants to reach out to you, they're watching this podcast, they're like, Kim Lackie is awesome.
Yeah.
How can they find you?
Kim Lackie on LinkedIn, or Kim Lackie 1 on Instagram.
Okay.
Or there's Kim Lackie Facebook.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to put it in the caption so that people know how to reach you.
Yeah.
Kim, this was an awesome conversation. I think it took a turn that I did not expect.
I wasn't expecting to talk a lot about that stuff, and we talked a lot about everything. So,
And that's why I love these conversations. You never know, and you really get to know people a little bit deeper. And I think somebody, actually a lot of people are going to benefit from this conversation. And that's what I love about just reaching out to different people and knowing their story. So thank you so much for blessing me with your time.
Well, and congratulations on you taking the courage to do this and podcasts and having them in person, which I love.
Thank you. Yes, that was the little touch that I really wanted to have, because I did have a previous podcast and it was on through Zoom, which was fine, but I do, you know, and the only challenge is that there are guests that I want to have and they're in another province or another city. I'll have to.
Travel's in the air.
Yes, we're going to have to get them to travel here. So thanks again.
Thank you, Sarah.
So anybody who wants to reach out to Kim Lackie, I will put her caption in her contact information in the description, and you'll see in the caption. Please reach out to her. Thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you at the next one.
Bye.